So, coming from entrepreneur.com, Cisco has 90,000 employees. Each of them will soon have their own AI agent. So, I think this is an interesting story to take a look at. For the first reason I think it's interesting to take a look at is the whole question of if Cisco was going to be rolling out to their 90,000 employees tools to improve their efficiency and automate simple tasks, would that be something that is newsworthy? Would that show up in the mainstream media, or would nobody care about it because that is kind of sort of what you would expect a technology company to actually do? And the other thing I think is interesting about this is that Cisco seems to be rolling their own AI stack, which brings into question why companies such as OpenAI and Anthropic are supposed to be worth $1 trillion. So that's one of the big things I've been trying to talk a lot about lately, is that there's a difference between the stack, the technology stack that runs artificial intelligence, and all of these AI companies. They're not the same thing. And so one of the things that you see is that many organizations, many large corporations are realizing there is a value in these tools that we now call artificial intelligence, and it is valuable enough they've decided to roll their own system. So you go to a company like Cisco, they've already got 90,000 employees. They are already a real technology company. Why do they want to outsource their intelligence services to somebody else when they can bring all of that in-house, especially with things such as open source models, right? So they don't even necessarily have to create their own models and that type of thing to be able to run their own AI infrastructure, and building servers and building SANs, storage area networks, that type of thing should be relatively simple for them. So those are the couple of the reasons why I think this story is slightly interesting here. So we go down, we take a look at this. Mark Patterson, CFO of tech company Cisco, has spent nearly 3 decades at the firm. When he looks back at how Cisco has changed over the years, weathering multiple technological innovations, he says AI has been the biggest game changer. Quote, AI is the most significant technology transition that we've seen in probably our lifetime, and I think Cisco was right at the heart of it, Patterson recently told Fortune. So one of the things with this, Cisco is really talking up what's going on in the artificial intelligence world, because guess what you need for AI? You need a metric crap ton of networking, right? When we talk about architecture, when we talk about the entire AI stack, right, there is more to the AI stack than the LLM or the GPUs or the memory, right? There's other things that have to come together to actually build the systems that people are using that they call artificial intelligence. And one of the massive components is networking, right? When we hear about Elon Musk having a data center with 1,000,000 GPUs, again, it's very easy to focus on the GPUs, or maybe the servers, or obviously the memory that you can no longer afford to buy. But one of the things, if you got 1,000,000 GPUs, that means you have a tremendous number of servers. You may have 1,000,000 servers, depending on how many GPUs are in each server. You may have less. But if nothing else, you have hundreds of thousands of servers that you have to connect together, and they have to be able to communicate at a very high speed for all of this stuff to work properly. And so that's one of the big things right now with Cisco, is they are right in the middle of trying to build out that network layer for the AI infrastructure. And so that's one of the reasons that they are very excited. Oh my golly, they're spending trillions of dollars to build out AI infrastructure, and basically Cisco is trying to get their chunk of that spend by providing the networking layer. So that's one of the reasons that Cisco is so excited about artificial intelligence. Cisco is taking things one step further. Beginning in its new fiscal year at the end of July, the company will give each of its 90,000 employees an AI agent. And what is interesting when you see this kind of thing is swap out the word AI agent for technology tool. If they were going to give 90,000 of their employees a technology tool to make them more efficient, would you be excited about it? But what we're being told, no, Eli, this is not a technology tool. This is an AI agent. And why that's important is because the story of artificial intelligence right now is so much more important than the actual technology itself. So something to think about, right? If you are, you have to report to an executive or you have to report to your higher up, and you're trying to get funding for whatever project that you're doing, just slap AI onto it, duct tape AI onto your project in order to get some money. Every worker will have a personalized AI assistant that can answer questions and carry out tasks. Cisco did not reveal the cost of implementing the AI agents. Cisco's system automatically chooses the right AI agent for the task. Quote, it knows which tool is most effective and most efficient, Peterson said. Much of the AI infrastructure is built on site, giving Cisco more say over costs. And so that's some big things with the whole AI revolution too, right? We hear so much about frontier models, right? The big buzzwords that we hear in 2026 are basically there are no dark GPUs, everything is compute constrained, and frontier models, right? These are big buzzwords. One of the big things to understand, though, is that in order to complete tasks, with technology, many times you do not need the best technology tool. As I talk about many times in the past, right? I do not need a Maserati to go buy my groceries. I can buy my groceries in my Ford. Thank you very much, right? A Maserati might technically be a much better vehicle, but it's expensive. It's a pain in the ass to maintain. There are a whole bunch of reasons why I don't want to be driving a Maserati to go to the grocery store, right? My Ford will be fine. And that's one of the things that we're seeing in the artificial intelligence world is what people are realizing, what executives are realizing, is that running frontier models is very expensive. Running a frontier model for inference or for anything else is going to be the most resource intensive way to do anything in the world of technology, right? Using models, using LLMs as a class are the most resource intensive ways to do anything in the technology world. And then using frontier models are even, the most resource intensive out of anything. So what they're looking at here is, hey, why don't I'm just thinking, why I don't know, why don't we pick the most appropriate tool for the task that we're trying to complete? And so that's why they're talking about using the right model for the task there. The other also interesting thing about this too is that they're building all of their infrastructure on site. And so this is one of the things that, I question with OpenAI, SpaceX, Anthropic, all of these companies building out these trillion-dollar data centers or trillions of dollars in data centers. And one of the big things I think for a lot of these technology companies is it's just going to make a lot more sense to build that stuff basically in-house. Quote, we feel like that's the most efficient way to build our own AI stack, which will go out and query the different models based on the particular use case, Patterson said. Patterson has his own AI tool that helps him compare Cisco's financial results with those of other companies. For instance, it lets them quickly line up metrics such as how fast revenue is growing, how much profit the company earns per share, how much it spends on research and development, and how it uses money, all in easy-to-read dashboards. Now, I want you to just take a look at that for a second, right? Again, we talk about artificial intelligence washing stuff, right? Hey, it allows him to compare Cisco's financial results with other companies. It allows him to see metrics very easily. It allows him to see growing revenue. I'm just going to put this out here. I'm just going to put this out there. I think PHP and a SQL statement would do that too. And now I'm being a little snarky here. I'm being just a wee bit snarky. But I really want you to be thinking about that. Like you read that yourself. How much it spends on research and development and how it uses his money, all in an easy to read dashboard. Yeah, that's what we use PHP and SQL for. I'm just saying, you have this thing called a relational database. The SQL runs a statement against the relational database, pulls that information out, and your PHP dynamically builds you a dashboard based off of that information. I mean, maybe, I'm just going to put this out there. Cisco might not be quite up on this technology. I mean, it's only, 35 years old at this period at the point in time. I mean, Cisco is an American company, so they might be a wee bit behind the times. But this is one of the things I do want you to be thinking about if you're working in the technology world right now. It's a whole question of, do you have to AI wash whatever your project is, essentially just to get it funded? Like, yes, you could do it with SQL and PHP, but that's not going to get you a budget. What will get you a budget is to run that mess through an LLM. I have a buddy of mine I was talking to recently in the startup world, and one of the things he was talking about is if you don't have AI in your whatever for your startup company right now, it is simply not getting funded. It doesn't matter what the revenue potential is. It doesn't matter what the total addressable market is. It doesn't matter the problems that you will solve to make the world a better place. If you do not have AI in your startup, you ain't gonna get no money. So just think about what I'm showing you here, and then think about this with what you're trying to sell to your higher ups and go, maybe you just need to AI wash it a little bit. Patterson said that on the financial side, AI is already helping with key reporting work, preparing the MD and A section or the mandatory narrative section in public company documents has become much faster. He estimates that AI now produces about 80 to 90% of the first draft. And so this makes sense. So it produces 89, 90% of a document. But notice one thing here too, is the first draft. And so this is one of the things I talk a lot about with the whole, will AI take people's jobs? And again, some jobs are going to go away because of automation. A lot of jobs are going to go away as companies right size into a good macroeconomic environment. And then even more jobs are going to disappear as they right size into the actual macroeconomic environment that we're in. But one of the big things to be thinking about with this is there's a difference between shrinking department sizes and the jobs going away entirely, right? So if you can have this LLM create 80 to 90% of this tedious report, right? That means hours disappear, right? You simply don't need an intern. You don't need a low-level person writing that initial first draft. But you do need people who know enough about what's going on, not simply to be able to read the first draft, but to catch hallucinations. I think that's going to be one of the valuable things with interacting with artificial intelligence going in the future. Literally being good enough to catch the hallucinations. Because dealing with the crap that interns write is different than dealing with the craps that AI writes, right? Generally, interns aren't going to lie. Right? Interns may suck. Interns may not write the best thing, or low-level people in your company might not write the best thing, but they're not going to make up numbers. There's one thing they're not going to do, is they're not going to make up numbers. One of the curious things with AI, right, with hallucinate, sometimes it'll just make stuff up. One of the things that I found fascinating, I've used AI just to run through and try to find information out of spreadsheets. It makes things up in spreadsheets. Like literally, I was giving it a spreadsheet because that's what this is. This is all supposed to be. Like one of the big things with AI is like, look, you can give it a spreadsheet and then you can ask questions about the spreadsheet, and it just makes shit up. Like what? Why are you making things up? It's 100 records, or it's 100 whatever lines in a spreadsheet. Just stop your lying, LLM. So I think one of the interesting things to think about with employees, especially these like knowledge-based employees when they're working with AI, not are they good enough to fill in the blanks that the interns don't know what to write about. Not are they good enough to fix very obvious problems where the interns screw up. No, no, no. Are they good enough to fix incredibly well-written hallucinations? Are they that good? And I think that's a question, and I think many people in the executive realm and in the corporate realm do not have those skills yet. It's going to be a valuable skill. Cisco has already built an AI tool for investor relations that reviews the company's financial history, compares it with competitors' earnings calls, and predicts the kinds of questions specific analysts are likely to ask. I think this sounds like a great tool. So one of the big things for executives is you got to sit down and you got to talk with people and you got to answer questions and sound like you're smart, right? One of the big things with dealing with investors is optics. Reality doesn't matter what they're crap. It's the optics that you present. So having AI tools, try to understand the questions that specific people have asked in the past and what they are most likely to ask in the future. I think that actually sounds like an incredibly good tool. Meanwhile, Patterson and his team are also improving an AI-based, quote, CFO cockpit, a dashboard that pulls together performance data by product, region, and customer type, projects where the business is likely to go, and suggests what actions to take next. Again, I do think most of that can be done with a SQL statement. It's like, wow, it's a dashboard that pulls performance data in from product, region, customer type, and projects, right? That all sounds like something that can be done with PHP and a bit of SQL statement, suggesting what actions to take next. That could be interesting. It could be interesting. I do wonder what the AI would provide there. So, anyways, that's basically what's going on with Cisco right now. They are rolling out 90,000, or they're rolling agents out to 90,000 of their employees, and what does it actually mean? Who knows? How much of it is artificial intelligence? Of it is AI, and how much of it is SQL statements and PHP? I do think that is a big question, right? That's one of the things to be thinking about when you're building out these whole AI tools. You don't want everything running in the LLM, right? You have your PHP or your Python. They run a SQL statement against your database. You pull that information back. From that information, then you turn it into something that is more human readable, right? That is a valuable thing. But out of that whole process, 90% of the code is you interacting with the database, and like a couple lines of code is taking the response that comes back, feeding it to an LLM, and getting a response out. Like the actual AI component is shockingly small there. With some of this stuff, when you look at what they're talking about, I do have a huge question of, hey, could you have just done this in PHP and MySQL? But nobody would talk about it if you did. Other things to be thinking about here, again, is the multiple different models that they're using, and that they're building all of this in-house. I do think one of the things with them building it in-house is they can obfuscate what that architecture actually looks like, right? If you're connecting to the outside world, it might be harder to obfuscate what your architecture looks like. Here they can build out a system, that is 90% Python and SQL and 10% AI, but they can just call it, all of it is one AI system, and who is going to be able to argue with them? So what do you think about this? What do you think about the 90,000 Cisco employees getting AI agents? What do you think about AI washing and all that? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. A link is down below. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.